thyself is to love thyself, is to examine, observe, and respect thyself. It's an ongoing process, never to be explained in a brief synopsis. It's a preoccupation with reflection and revelation that can only be achieved through discipline and determination.
Hello and welcome to the Encouraging Word Show. I am Jamila Freelain, your host, and as always, we have wonderful guests and we have wonderful episodes to tell you about different career opportunities and college prep activities that you can do to help you be more prepared and to reduce your college costs. Everybody likes to save a little money. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now, today I have the fantastic opportunity to speak with Mr. Ryan Shaver, who is actually the Workforce Development Training Coordinator for the North Carolina Masonry Contractors Association. Woo, that's a long title.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I'm just Ryan.
Okay, well, Ryan for short. So, Ryan, it's a pleasure to have you here today. And I would love to just jump right in. Of course, I've told you when we were starting, this show was really inspired by a book that I created, and the book was called Free. Is called, not was, like it's past. It's past when I wrote it, but the book is still in existence. So, but it's a book that's called Free Money for College, and it really helps students and parents. It's a resource that I created to give them some enlightenment, and I don't think the traditional 4-year career path is necessarily for everyone. So as much as I've poured into this book and I try to enlighten and share, but I also give insight that areas that are called career and technical education related careers are opportunities or paths that a lot of parents and students just aren't considering. So to that end, when I met you and learned more about all the different things that you're doing in Masonry, which are absolutely exciting because that there's a resurgence of interest coming in that field, I was like, I gotta have him on the show. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about what it is that you do.
So the association saw a need back about 6 months ago to hire a person that just focuses on workforce development and growing our trade and getting the youth back involved into the industry.
Right.
When I came into the industry in the early 90s, I mean, it was the thing to do because the excitement was there, the money possibilities were there.
Yeah.
So we lost that through the downturn, I think. We lost a lot of our momentum in all the trades, especially construction-related areas.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
that's something I'm passionate about.
Yes, ma'am. Coming out of that, now we have a surge of work that is available for anyone to take advantage of. So,
and are there enough people filling those positions?
Oh no, ma'am. That's the problem we have. Our skilled labor has diminished over the past 4, 5, 6 years, and our average age of a Mason in North Carolina today is 54 years old.
Wow, so they're on the downturn. They're going to be retiring in the next 10 years or so, if not sooner. Wow, so that leaves a really huge void.
It does. So if we don't start now in trying to train and retain and encourage our youth to get involved in the trade and the money opportunities and all the career paths that they can take through our trade, we're going to be really hurting in 10 years.
Yeah, I
really
agree.
hurting.
I agree. And we're probably feeling the pinch right now already, I would imagine, as I speak with and meet different general contractors and just people in construction overall from different facets are really feeling that pinch, so to speak.
Ma'am.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple statistics that I wanted to share with the audience as they're watching. Not sure if you're aware, and matter of fact, I don't know that I was aware necessarily, but in 2016, according to a website called careerplanner.com, in 2016, there were over 292,000 jobs that were related to masonry. So that, I think, is pretty significant. If you think about it nationwide, that's a whole industry unto itself. And whenever you're looking at either a college path or a career path, I think you have to be very mindful of what the demand for that field is. And, if there's only 5 jobs for whatever it is you want to go into, chances are you might want to look at some other areas that may not be the area that you want to invest in terms of your time and energy, but that's a pretty significant number.
Yes, it is. And you know, we've also done some studies ourselves to try to see where we will be.
Yeah.
In 2026, we project we need 34,000 new Masons by
Wow.
2026. So getting us ramped up for that happens now.
Wow.
And the opportunities, you know, I'm living proof of it, that the opportunities are vast in the trade.
Well, tell me, I know you do a number of things, so I want to jump right in. I want to touch a little bit on how you got started, and then I'd like you to bring me full circle and tell me about some things you're doing right now with students to encourage them even more to consider Masonry as an option. So what was your background?
So I took Masonry in a high school class.
Okay.
I took Masonry in a small high school in Cabarrus County in North Carolina, and enjoyed it. Loved the trade. It was just something I enjoyed, building things with my hands.
Yeah.
No one in my family was a Mason. My dad, my uncles,
Okay.
no family members were Masons.
And
So-
you know, I was fully expecting you to say it ran in the family
no,
or something.
no, absolutely not. And that's what, you know, I try to explain to people. It doesn't matter if anyone in your family, you know, the trade's for everyone. So took the class, had a God-given talent for laying brick and block, and
Yeah.
loved it.
Okay.
Won a couple state titles in high school and then a national title. So that propelled me into the industry. Stayed in the field and on the job for 19 years after that.
Okay.
So then I came back and started teaching. So my
And
instructor.
you taught Masonry?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Wow. In
My-
high schools or
in
middle
high school. So my instructor that I had retired, and I took his position.
Oh,
and
wow.
and it was great. You know, I loved teaching Masonry. I loved every aspect about it, working with the students, taking a student that was like me, that had no background in Masonry, and building him to where he could lead that school and get a sustainable job and make a good career for him and his family for many years to come.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Let me ask, what kind of a student were you in high school? Because I do find that, and I hear often, you know, that for a lot of these career-related areas, they're kind of a dumping ground sometimes for students who maybe have learning disabilities or challenges, or the problem students, because teachers don't want to put up with them. What was your experience high school?
Well, my experience in high school was I was one of those students that could do the work in a core class, but didn't like doing the work.
Gotcha. So,
So-
very intelligent, but you got bored with classes. And that
I
fits
did.
a lot of students,
Yes, it
quite
does.
honestly.
It does. So, and to vice versa, when I taught, you can take a student that does not do well in a core class, like English or math or some area like that,
Of course.
bring him in where he can actually see and reap the benefits of what he's doing,
Right.
and all of a sudden he's performing at extremely high level.
Right.
So, you know, the trade, and you can take a student that's the upper level honor student,
Yes.
introduce him to the trade, and they can go on, be an engineer, a structural engineer,
true.
design
That's
design
true.
with masonry. I mean, there's a lot of, regardless where you're at,
Uh-huh.
we have a spot for you.
I agree, because if you think about it, if somebody's going into civil engineering, it's one thing to have a concept of how to design a 3D model or to do a CAD drawing, but it's another thing to have had hands-on experience and understanding, okay, this is what a load-bearing wall would be like, or, you know, I would imagine like the thickness would be more or something like that. If they have an appreciation and an understanding for something like that, then if anything, it just makes them a stronger engineer.
Right, gives them a leg up on their other engineers. It
Certainly,
really does.
certainly. And I could see how even if it was a student who maybe wasn't as strong, this might be the saving grace for them. This might be the one class that they look forward to most in school, so that helps them to kind of weather the storm in those
Absolutely.
other classes. They'll do enough to just make it happen so that way they can get to your class. So
Absolutely.
I could see that.
Absolutely.
So now with that being said, I know you mentioned you were a high school teacher, and you mentioned even when you were in high school, you were this champion of sorts in Masonry. Tell me a little bit about how that relates to what you're doing now with an organization called Skills USA.
Yes, ma'am. So back then, when I came through school, it was VICA, which VICA was Vocational Industrial Clubs of America.
Very
in
familiar.
1998, they changed their name to sound a little more modern to,
Okay.
to Skills USA.
Yes.
So through Skills USA is where my instructor took me and competed, and I placed first in the state in 1993, and then went on and won the national that year. So that organization allows students to get involved, and I think they have well over 100 different trade areas that
I
they
think you're
offer
right.
now. So it's really amazing what they do for students and to help propel them into a future career that they can be successful in. So it's another stepping stone for that student to succeed.
Okay.
And it works really well. It really
So
does.
now you have a team of students from the Charlotte area, or how does that, what exactly do you do with Skills USA?
So each high school can bring a various amount of students to compete. So I actually work with Skills USA on the state level with that competition there in the Masonry competition. And then I'm the co-chairman at the national level
Wow.
for Skills USA with the Masonry competition. So and it's in Louisville, Kentucky, and we'll be there 2 more years after this year.
Okay.
And then we're moving to Atlanta.
Get out of here.
So,
wow. Is Atlanta a big market for Masonry then?
Well, Atlanta, yes. Atlanta's, there's a lot of work going on down there. So, and you know, with any trade, but especially our trade, with the masonry trade, you learn that skill set, and like I would tell my students in school, it's like riding a bicycle. When you learn that skill set, no one can take that from you.
Yeah,
it's
you
yours.
never lose it.
It's yours, and you can be productive day one. So,
and I would imagine it's very fulfilling as well to see this thing that you've built it's going to last for years to come.
yes, ma'am. I mean, you can ride. I'm going down the road now, especially in the Charlotte area where I worked for many years. And I tell my family all the time, oh, we worked on that in 1997, and it was
Wow.
January, you know,
Uh-huh.
just things pop in your mind, but you remember the work that you did, and you're proud of that.
And to see the
for
clear
completing.
evidence of that, the fulfillment of that would be, I think, tremendous.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. So now, in terms of enlightening students and parents, I know we've talked in the past about opportunities such as apprenticeships and that sort of thing. So to that end, you've got some exciting news about some pre-apprenticeships. So before we run out of time, I want you to share that information because I think there's probably some people that are watching that would love to take advantage of that.
Yes, absolutely. So we have formulated, the Masonry Contractors Association of North Carolina has formulated a program called a pre-apprenticeship program. It allows a student that's 16, 17 years old in high school to have related education component plus a work-based learning experience where they can actually get on the job site and experience what our trade's all about. And we also attached a wage to that of $12 minimum an hour.
Can't beat that in high school. Oh my
Absolutely
gosh.
not.
Yeah.
So it will, our hopes and our intentions and our goals is to get that student involved in our trade, start the training process, get them trained, and then that way when they graduate, they can either go into a 2-year community college and continue their education,
Okay.
or they can enter right into that apprenticeship, turn the pre-apprentice into an apprenticeship,
Yes.
and work it. And
Wow.
they're earning while they're learning.
Yeah, literally.
They're,
Yeah.
It's not costing anything for them to learn this trade.
Yeah.
They're getting
You're
paid to learn this
yeah.
trade. So that's the key component to this
Wow,
thing.
that's a golden opportunity right there. Now, how does a pre-apprenticeship differ from a apprenticeship?
So a pre-apprenticeship happens only when they're 16, 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So what that pre-apprentice does when they complete those two components, the related education and the work-based learning segment, it allows that student to also gain another high school credit in school through an internship.
Okay.
So that turns into their internship, which makes them eligible for one more high school credit. Now, when I was in school, if you would have told me that you're going to get a high school credit for going out in the summer and working,
Right.
I'd have been all over it.
Yeah, not just
Not
going
just
out,
getting paid.
but getting paid. Yeah, as
Exactly
well.
right.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for everyone, and we're hoping that what this will do is introduce the students and also excite them about our trade and being part of what we have to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we run out of time, one word, I always kind of ask people for their kind of word of the day. If you could have one word that encompasses either the work that you do or maybe a positive word that you could say about the industry of masonry as a whole, what would that be?
My one word to sum up my whole career is blessing,
Okay.
because it's truly been a blessing to be involved in the industry that I've been in and to grow and look where I'm at today.
Yeah.
So it's truly a blessing. No matter what your background is, no matter where you come from, no matter anything like that, the opportunity is there for you if you're willing to work for it.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing.
And I think
That's
you're
the
proof
great
of
thing.
that. Yeah. You've got some fantastic opportunities and you have a phenomenal background. And actually, when we come back from the break, one of your former students is going to be with us. Chris, what was Chris's last name?
Allman.
Chris Allman. Allman like the nut?
Kindly.
Kind of.
He was in school.
Okay. Well, listen, we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. You want to hear from Chris and learn a little bit more about opportunities in masonry. Thanks. Hello and welcome back to the Encouraging Words Show. I'm your host, Jamila Freelain, and I am the founder of Encouraging Words College Prep. I actually wrote a book not too long ago called Free Money for College, and the Free Money for College book was meant to be a resource for students and parents to give them a better idea of how to prepare for college or at least a career path, and just kind of give you some words of wisdom and some insight beyond getting beyond high school and kind of prepping for that process. Now, to that end, one of the things that I thought about is how can I expand the awareness? Not everybody is going to meet me. Not everybody is going to be able to ever maybe necessarily see the book, but how can I really expand people's awareness? So when this opportunity came along, I was like, I want to actually do a show that helps students and parents learn a little bit more and brings a lot of the things that I touched on in the book to life. So to that end, I have a very successful Mason with me today. If you were watching the first segment of the show, I just spoke with Ryan Shaver about the industry of masonry, and actually Chris Allman, who's my guest right now, was a former student of Ryan Shaver. So Chris, I want to thank you for coming. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I thank you for coming. So let's jump right in. Now tell me a little bit about your particular path. I know, of course, already that you took masonry in high school.
Yes, ma'am.
But beyond high school, what was your path?
Well, after I did my 3 years of masonry in high school, I went on to run track in college for 2 years.
Okay. Where'd you go to school?
Methodist University.
Okay.
And, in high school, I was like, well, I'm good at sports. I won't need to be able to, do good in school. Sports will carry me through it. So it's nice when you get all these offers from schools, but when you don't get accepted because they say your grades are bad, well, what do you do?
Wow,
So
that's like a reality check.
It really is. People who are good athletes, they could be good workers, but they think, okay, I can just go and, mess around in school and just not have to worry about it. So I went to school for 2 years. Then I ended up, wasn't working out for me.
Did you struggle with school?
No, school, I did fine in school, but it's not for everybody.
Okay.
School,
just the personal feeling of it.
Yeah, right. And some people want to work, some people like going to school. Well, I like to work and make money.
Okay.
So, and it was a perfect opportunity. So I went back, talked to a couple of people. I had a masonry background, so I went and, got a job, started at the bottom, working my way up.
Okay.
And now I love what I do it every day.
Started from the bottom, now you're here.
Hey, that's how it goes.
Just 3 years in the industry and you're on television. Check that out.
I know, you'll never imagine.
Now let me ask you, you sound like you kind of took that path of, trying traditional route, trying the traditional route of school first, and then you kind of whittled your way back or navigated your way back to masonry.
Yes, ma'am.
What was it about masonry that you really loved that made you say, hey, I think I may want to consider doing this?
Well, if you look back over the history of time, the only structures that still stand today are masonry-related structures.
Very true.
So and then every building you go into has some kind of masonry-related stuff.
Right.
You can everything from your house, your workplace, everything's got masonry in it.
Right.
Masonry is worldwide. It's not something that's just localized worldwide. So something that everybody can relate to. There's a workforce everywhere you go.
Definitely.
And it's not it's not something that's gonna be hard to find a job in. And it's as big as you want to make it.
Okay, cool. Where can you see yourself going in the field of masonry later on? What are some of your goals?
Definitely just keep learning every day. You never told to learn. Doesn't matter how long you're in an industry or a trade, you can keep on learning.
Okay.
So, the more I can learn, the more I can move up, running a crew, being a supervisor, or you can go work for yourself. You can, your opportunities are endless.
Yeah, definitely. I want to say, according to that the website that I quoted in the first segment, careerplanner.com, they're expecting, when they did the survey back in 2016, they were expecting at least a 12% growth increase for that particular field. And that was to continue, I believe, between 2016 up through 2026. So that's pretty tremendous if you think about it. Whenever you're looking at industry, or you're looking at a career path, you want to look for something that has anticipated growth. You want to look at how steady that growth is and for how long of a period. So I think, you definitely got some great years ahead of you as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere you go, cities are growing, and, the foundation is masonry, so masonry leads the way, so it's always going to be there. Job security is there.
Definitely. Now let me ask you this too, going backwards for a second. When we talk about your high school experience, do you remember, or did you compete at all?
I did not. I built the projects just like they build a competition, but I never went and did that, But luckily, I took the classes because that built a good base for me to go. That put me one leg up on everybody else off the street going to get a job,
Right.
So, the more you can focus on something and just stick to it, it'll never hurt you then.
Okay. So for someone that's wondering, I know we talked a lot about the expected job growth, and we talked about there being a demand in the first segment. If someone is starting off the street with no experience, like you had a leg up on the competition, so
Correct.
to speak, so what would be an average salary, or is it an hourly thing? How does that work for your industry?
It's usually an hourly thing. You're just off the street, you don't know you don't know a lick. You
Right.
come in, $12 an hour starting out, and then you just move up. It's how hard you want to work. If you go in there, show people you're willing to learn, you want to learn the trade, you committed to stay there, the possibilities are endless.
Okay.
An average mason, nothing special. He can make about $45,000 a year. Foremans who run the crew make anywhere between 70 and 80.
Wow.
Supervisors 100, 125.
That's pretty good.
And
when
it's
you think about it,
it's
that's
as hard as you want to
tremendous.
work. As hard as you want to work. So.
And I would imagine, of course, based upon that salary, they work harder. But if it's something you enjoy,
correct. But see, then if you put your mind to it and you learn the trade, it's like everything else. Then eventually you get to work with your head and not with your back so much. So if you come in, put your head down, pay attention, and learn the trade. Smooth sailing from there on out.
Okay, so limitless opportunities. It sounds
absolutely
like.
limitless.
Wow. Okay. Very, very good. Now, when it comes down to, of course, it sounds like the salaries are great. When it comes down to an example of something that you've built that you or had a hand in building, what would you say you're the most proud of that you had a hand in building?
I mean, we built houses for people who play on the Carolina Panthers team.
Wow.
The Kevin Harvick race car driver built something in his house before.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt, the race car driver, built something in his house before. So I mean, it's a first baseman for the Colorado Rockies built something in his house before. All right here in Charlotte. So I mean, you get to meet a bunch of famous people, do a bunch of good stuff.
People as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And so like I said, it's as hard as you want to work. If you do good work, people know who you are, and then when you work for them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yes,
And that's definitely true, I think, of any industry. If you kind of put your nose to the ground and you have a serious work ethic and, if you shine in what you do, people are going to notice it. And as a result, they're going to want you to come on board with them for sure. Cool. Now, I have another question for you. And my question is, if you had one word to describe what it is that you do in masonry, what would that word be?
Probably intricate.
Intricate. Okay.
Yep.
That's an interesting choice
Yep.
of words. That's like a $10 word. You got to tell me, why was intricate the one that came to your mind?
Well, all the houses we build, they're all, big custom homes. So it's never the same thing from job to job. Something different all the time. And
That's true, because you guys do a lot of high-end homes.
Correct. Yep. And it's all, detail. So it's the devil's in the details, and that's the truth. If you go and
You said the what's in
the devil's in the details.
I never heard that.
So
but okay.
that's the truth. Details everything.
Yes. Well, it makes all the difference if you think about it. Let's say if it's something as small as a door handle, if it's halfway hanging on the door and it looks like it's been there the last 10 years, that sets a tone in your head. You're thinking, okay, well, there's probably shoddy workmanship throughout this particular house. But if they've got everything lined up to a T, even the screws on the little wall sockets are all in place, are all going the same direction. You see that somebody put care and attention to detail in that, and as a result, you're going to think here lies a house that is well built. So I definitely would agree with that. So intricate. That's an interesting
ma'am.
choice of words. Now, before we run out of time, there's something I was curious about. If you had to choose, in high school, you had several choices, I'm sure, of electives.
Correct. Yep.
How is it that you came to choose masonry?
I mean, I got to do electrical stuff, welding stuff, masonry,
You did all that in high school?
all that in high school.
Get out of here.
Yes, ma'am.
What high
So,
school again?
Mount Pleasant High School,
Okay.
from Mount Pleasant, North Carolina.
Okay.
Best high school around, and they offer so many things to start a good base.
Yeah.
To where if you don't want to go to college or you want to go to a trade school instead, that's okay, because there's money and good opportunities in
In
trades.
all of those areas, yeah, for sure. And if you've got all those opportunities available, then you really never miss a beat.
Correct.
So how is it with that plethora of areas that you had? You said you had welding, electrical, construction you were exposed to. And how is it that you came into loving masonry? Because you took it for like 3 years. Some
Correct.
people take Spanish for 3 years. You took masonry.
I just saw, the endless opportunities that masonry could offer. Like, for example, my teacher, Ryan Shaver, he, shows how he started and where he ended up at. And you're like, dang, that ain't too bad, So, I mean, it's like I said, as hard as you want to work, and the opportunities are endless.
Wow, that's very true. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that. Now, for someone that may be watching at home that may have an interest in masonry, what would you say to them to encourage them? I know you've said a lot of things leading up to now about going into the industry, but what would you say that really would help them to make the decision to take that leap of faith and maybe jump right into the field?
I mean, if you don't jump, you're never going to know. And you're always going to have that feeling, what if I would have done something else? So, I mean, if you go there and you don't like it and you waste, 6-8 months, I'm sure you've wasted a lot more time and a whole lot less,
Yeah,
So, I mean, and plus you get paid while you're doing something.
Yeah.
So it's not about field at all.
That's true, because when you think about it, with a lot of industries that you go into, yeah, you're going to get trained, but you're not going to get paid while you're training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A bunch of places, want to make you sign contracts. If you don't work a certain amount of time, you owe us this amount of money. Masonry's not like that. You come in, you get paid while you learn, and you move up the more you learn. So.
Wow. Okay, that's really, really good. Now, one last thing before we completely wrap up. I meant to ask this earlier, and I didn't think to do it until just now. So, a day in the life for you. Your day is normally from what time to what time?
I'm usually on the job between 7 to 7:30, and then we work to a good stopping point. But about 4:30, 5 o'clock sometimes, and we go all around the Charlotte metro area. So.
Okay. And for somebody that would be training, for example, would that be their schedule too?
Yeah, summertime help. That, like I said, they work in the summertime, but it's about the same time period.
Okay.
So, and it's not about hours or anything.
Okay, so good to know. Remember,
Yes, ma'am.
when you think about it, he said not only do you get paid to get the training, so you're earning while you're learning, so to speak. And then on top of that, when you think of the work hours, you start your day early, you get off at like 4:30, 4:30.
Yep.
Not a bad deal at all.
Not at all.
Well, Chris, we're out of time, but I definitely want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
I hope
having
you
me.
weren't too nervous.
No.
You did flawlessly.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about the industry of masonry. And for that matter, consider some of the different trades that are out there that you may not have thought about before, but that we're exposing here on the show, and really just kind of look into these areas. Again, they're really in demand. A lot of people are retiring, and there's not a lot of high schools, for example, that offer those things anymore. So there's a huge demand, and they need you. They need your help. Again, thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.